Welcome to the Ascension Playground. My name is Ursula, and I'm here today on Woo Woo Wednesday with my dear friend Anne-Marie, Angel Star Rising. Today, we're just going to have fun. Oh, and her little puppy, Augie. Hi, Augie. Yes. Today, we're just going to have fun going back to the Fairy Tale Tarot and Inner Child card deck, because Anne-Marie said, yes, she would like a reading. Yes. See what happens when she says yes. So I'm going to, well, before we get going on that, how have you been, Angel Star? All's good?
I'm good, yeah. Thanks for inviting me back to the playground.
You're welcome. Well, you seem to like stories as much as I do. And I know you have a channel too that really focuses on the stars. So if we're not looking at the stars, we're looking at the stories. And it's fun to see some of these stories up in the heavens. So,
yeah.
Okay, let's see with the tech. I'm going to share. And here it is. Here is the Inner Child cards. This is one of my favorite card decks, only because it offers us a way into understanding the energy through fairy tales. And fairy tales, for me as a kid, I would read, the Grimm's Brothers fairy tales. Then I'd start going to Japanese tales and Chinese tales, and then fairy tales from around the world. Because it fascinated me how cultures can define themselves through some of the myth and the tales that have been handed down for ages. When you were a kid, Anne-Marie, did you like to look at stories from afar?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, I loved books. I was reading all the time. Always had a book in my hands.
Yeah. What other kind of things were you reading as a kid? What else fascinated? Was it the stars early on too, or no?
Not so much the stars, but definitely like imagination things, fantasy, and just getting my mind somewhere else and learning all about different places and different people.
Cool. I know. I remember riding my bike to the library, and I could just live in there all Saturday and Sunday. Well,
yes,
Saturday afternoon, because Saturday morning is chore day. So, cleaning the house. Oh, okay. Well, without further ado, I have taken the card deck, and I've really only, I'm going to do a reading. Got paint on my hand. I'm going to do a reading with just using the major arcana cards. As I shared with you earlier, it's because these are the stories that most of us know. And so I could have used the whole deck, but in this case, for you, my friend, today, in this now moment, we're going to see what the energy around you is for today. What story best reflects the energy in your moment now? Does that feel good? Or do you want to rephrase it another way? That feels good? Okay.
Yes, that feels good. Let's see what energy.
Let's see what energy
story there is for me.
Yeah. Okay. So I've shared before, we usually start by knocking out. So I'll knock on the cards, knock out the old energy from a previous reading. And from my heart, I blow the intention to please show us the energy for our dear friend Anne-Marie in this now moment. And then Anne-Marie, I'd like you to tell me when to stop shuffling, when it feels right to you.
Okay.
Okay. I could have been there a while. All right. All right. Now, would you like me to cut the deck? And if so, how many times?
Sure. Just once.
Just once. Okay. I'm going to cut the deck once. Oh, okay. So now the deck is cut in two. So this deck or this deck? Which one would you like to pull from?
You're right. The right.
This one? Okay, I want to make sure that's your right.
Who's right? My right or your right?
I know. Stage right? Stage left? Okay. So now I'm going to ask you a question. Do you want the top or the bottom card for the energy of this now moment?
How about the top card?
The top card. Okay, Augie, are you ready to hear? Let's see what's going to come up for her in this now moment. Oh, it's Hansel and Gretel. Isn't that funny?
Oh, awesome.
This is the
Yeah.
card I was just showing you ahead of time just to test the deck.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. Let's see, is it focusing pretty well?
I can see it. Yeah. Yeah.
Good.
The Hansel and Gretel part is more in focus than the number at the top. But yeah, the
Okay.
picture is very in focus. So
Okay, well, here we go. So why don't we start by just looking at the card and noticing that in Roman numerals at the top, it's the number 6. So that 6 vibration energetically is with you. There's 4 suns on Sunday, and there's 2 squirrels playing. There's a bird with a snake with a heart, I think, and a gingerbread house. I know, that's deep. We're talking Jungian, deep, 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 deep. And then, let's see, I assume that's Hansel and that's Gretel. And then the gingerbread house. What do you sense from this rainbow card? And just by the way, the number 6 has 2 little birds. They're like giving each other a little kiss. You see that?
Oh,
Yeah, I know. I don't know how well focused this camera is going up right now, but why don't we start with, do you pick up anything?
well, the first thing I felt was just the closeness of the 2 of them holding hands and just walking together and just the support that they had together. Then I saw the squirrels and the craziness there. We have to deal with a lot of squirrel activity in my backyard. So
remember, these are all metaphors for your energy.
Yes.
So frolicking squirrels hiding their nuts or looking for nuts.
Yes. Or teasing the animals.
Or teasing the animals. And then this little red bird with a long tail is watching as the snake is wrapping itself around a heart. What do you feel or sense from that image?
Well, the red bird, I always think of cardinals, and those are always supposed to be like someone that's passed on. When you see a cardinal, it's like someone that's passed on is coming to see you.
Oh.
And the snake with the heart, I don't know. That doesn't feel good. Snake with the heart just kind of feels like, well, it can be like a warning, like, don't let evil into your heart. Don't let evil grab a hold of you, and just let the negativity go, and don't let evil get a footing.
Wow. Yeah, and then that's just hovering over them, the bird and the snake and heart, as they're skipping off to the gingerbread house. So they think they want to go there, right? And it looks like it's going to be sweet and wonderful, and it's food. Remember, they were starving.
Yeah, they've
So
been
it's
lost. They lost their way.
Maybe that's a premonition of what might be in that gingerbread house. Who knows?
Yeah, this is true.
Yeah, and since you asked, I'm sensing that that Hansel and Gretel represent like a balance, a harmonious balance between male and female energetically within you, perhaps, like this idea of walking hand in hand with both parts of yourself that show up. And then that's kind of echoed with the 2 squirrels that are, yes, playfully up a tree. And they usually represent to me this idea of lightheartedness and so connected. Hansel und Gretel. Well, let's go see what the inner child cards deck says about this. Let's get to here's number 3. I have to go back and remember my Roman numerals, right? Okay, well, here it is. Okay, so if you don't mind, I'll read a little bit from the book. How does that sound? Okay, hopefully that's not too blurry, but okay. In the traditional tarot, Anne-Marie, this card has always been depicted as the lovers. Oh, we were just talking about Venus Day, the lovers. That's kind of, we could just stop there.
Yeah.
We don't need to know anymore, right? You've got a lot of love in your energy field right now. It conveys the need for trust and loyalty in committed relationships. On a higher level, it symbolizes the balance between physical and spiritual love. The story of Hansel and Gretel also allows us to see a rudimentary form of divine love at work in the adventure of dedicated siblings, a brother and sister. In the story, a poor woodcutter lives with his wife and 2 children. The wife is the children's stepmother, and she is very cruel to them. In order to survive, because they have very little food, the stepmother coaxes the husband into abandoning the children in a forest. This reveals his weak willpower and her selfish desires. The children are brought to the woods, the unknown, the pathless world, and left to fend for themselves. The moonlight, or the receptive feminine and higher wisdom, plays a significant role in guiding Hansel and Gretel. They're also guided by 2 white birds. At the very top with the number 6.
Yeah.
First, a dove leads them to a candy house, which represents your personal desire, cravings. They even wrote oral fixations and material security. This is going deep. Beginning awareness of sexuality. Next, a white duck. I missed the white duck. Helps them cross the water for emotional security, acting as a bridge to bring them to a new level of love and awareness. Okay, a little bit more, and then you stop me if you want, if this is enough of the story, but here we go. Here we go. Hopefully it ends well for them, because some of the stories don't. Hansel and Gretel need to work together in harmony to trust each other implicitly. In finding the candy house, they believe they have found heaven since they have been suffering so long without food. Hansel nibbles at the roof, and Gretel nibbles at the window. They are well fed and fattened up, and the witch who lives there ushers them to tiny beds. When they awaken, they realize they are prisoners. In religious writings, the dove often appears as an image of the Holy Spirit. In fairy tales, the pure spiritual forces, as yet untainted by the senses, are also symbolized by the dove or another white bird. The old crippled witch, symbolizing the intellect, is blind to the true nature and growth of the eternal in the human being. Ultimately, self-destruction occurs when she attempts to outwit little Gretel. It is the young girl who instead tricks the witch, pushing her headlong into the fires of her own large oven. The witch, who had wanted to devour the children, signifies the dark regions of consciousness that must be recognized and purified in the fire. At this point, the children are liberated. Gretel, who represents the soul, has rescued Hansel, the spirit. United brother and sister return to their home. However, in order to arrive safely at their parents' house, they must enter a new state of consciousness. The earthly soil is no longer capable of supporting them. They must travel across water, the stream of flowing life on the wings of spirit, the white duck. On the highest level, once spirit escapes from the snare of the sense world, which is the candy house and carnal love, it begins to recall the true home which it sprang from, which is eternal love. When this card appears in your reading, a deep spiritual initiation or union may be taking place. Realize that each person has a feminine and a masculine balance, and that it is now time for you to bring these inner components into a state of balance and equilibrium. Hansel is a symbol of the animus, the wind, the spirit, and male energy. Gretel signifies the anima, the soul, nurturing, and female energy. Together, hand in hand, their rapport indicates a preliminary form of the divine marriage. Meditate on the beauty of these 2 children, inspiring each other, and remember that they reflect the lost love of their parents, who have been worn down by the rigors of life. The spiritual embrace, the romantic touch, the heart-centered gaze can allow you to re-experience the riches of unconditional love. In traditional tarot, this is called the Lovers. In the zodiac, this is Gemini. Let's take another peek. I can't find the duck. I don't see the water, so I don't know what they're talking about, but what'd you think about that little
We have to use our
story?
imagination for that.
Yeah, what'd you think?
Yeah, it's a great story. It's interesting. And how would it apply to me right now? I don't know. So
Yeah, maybe sometimes things show up and it's not for the mind, but later you'll be like,
Right.
there's,
right.
I don't know. I think I like these cards so much because they go deeper into the Jungian archetypal powers of consciousness that's every human has to go through, right?
Yeah, archetypes are all fascinating, and how they can all apply to all of us in some way, shape, or form is always very appealing. Very educational.
Yeah, very educational. Well, for me, the authors, Isha Lerner and Mark Lerner, who created this, I mean, it took them, as I shared with you, like about 20 years to put together because they went deeper and deeper into the tale and connecting it with the tarot. So for me, life seems to be all about these stories. Some of them become outdated. Look at the ones we grew up with, or you may have been socially imprinted with, and the ones I was socially imprinted with, just being raised in America.
Yeah.
Right? I remember my father would say, no, we do not burn incense and give alms to my mother's Chinese ancestors because there was an altar table at my grandma's house. We don't do that. We're Catholic. We don't, I mean, he didn't say it that nicely. So, but he was trying to give all 7 of us kids this idea that this is the story I want you to, be within. Then you get older and you bust those stories and have to go find which ones you want to add back into your life, as our evolution.
Yeah. Stories are important. And we don't know which ones are really impacting us the most sometimes. Like sometimes they're so deeply embedded that we just live them and accept them as if they're true and we don't question them.
I'm going to ask you a funny question because for me, you represent a seeker on the path who just loves talking about the stars and astrology and all things heavenly. When this is looked at, Hansel and Gretel, through the eyes of Gemini, so we have 12 zodiacal signs, and Gemini is representative of the 3rd house. Can you share a little bit with us and the viewers around how you may interpret Hansel and Gretel with Gemini?
Well, the 3rd house is also about siblings, and it's ruled by Mercury. And so there's like this idea of youthfulness and also movement and traveling locally, communication. So in that story, I can see this, obviously the siblings, the brother and sister, and they are, the communication from the stepmother to the father was not very good. These are ideas that, that they were off on, but had to then travel to get Hansel and Gretel to the woods and left them there. And then there's the idea of, working together and getting out of their situation with the witch. I mean, I don't know that that's necessarily, I don't know if that goes into the 8th house. I think they jump from the 3rd to the 8th there with that one, but definitely the siblings and the youthfulness and just the communication that the 2 of them had together, I think is definitely 3rd house, Gemini, Mercury stuff. Yes.
See, I love that you can bring that astrological language and storytelling about Gemini into this, Hansel and Gretel story. So we're taking like Grimm's fairy tale with the stories of the stars. And you and I were talking earlier about Ptolemy. Who wrote, who actually ascribed, I don't know if you know, but who ascribed all the virtues to the 12 zodiacal signs? I mean,
Yeah,
do we
I don't
know?
know. I think that, no, I mean, Ptolemy was not what I was telling you that I had just learned was that he had tried to simplify astrology by finding the 12 constellations that are on the ecliptic. And that would be our 12 signs of the zodiacal wheel. And how, there's so many other constellations that are forgotten. And so those are the things that are fascinating me right now. But who assigned I mean, I think that there's there's the horoscopes that the Indian, this sidereal has, a lot of that has held over. So, I mean, I think it goes back long before Ptolemy. I think that he came in and tried to simplify it, but it goes back even further than that.
I think you're right. And like this idea of oral tradition of way back creation stories.
Right.
But Gemini, boy, I was reflecting on this idea of anima and animus that came in through those cards. This idea of soul and spirit. And for a long time, I was like, aren't they the same? And they kind of called
Catholic.
it.
Yeah.
It's a Catholic thing, right?
Yes, exactly. Because I think that's what I grew up thinking.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I just want to thank you for letting me share this time with you on the playground, and maybe if you don't mind, maybe we'll come back in a few and you could help me do a reading for my energy in this now moment. Would that sound good?
Yes,
Okay.
that would be awesome.
I'll see you soon, Angel Star.
Thank you.
Bye, Augie. Bye.